in the markets for the commodities and recyclables and the materials. And China, which is one of the major locations that we export to, not just Kingston, but the United States in general, exports an incredible amount of recyclables. Some of them are kept domestically, but most of it is exported. Some of it goes to other states, others to India and China. In the last few years, you may have heard of something called National Sword. And National Sword is basically a system, a policy change in which China has increased their regulations. They have decreased the amount of contamination that they permit, and they have decreased the specific recyclables that they are accepting. When we do single stream, it is the case that, and when we've been doing single stream, we're putting everything that we have on these two tables over here, our bottles and cans and glass and our paper, into one tote. And that means if you clean out your shampoo container and it still has water in it and you put it in there with your newspaper, then the newspaper gets wet as well and it gets compromised. At the time, this was a good idea for us to, not the compromising, but to combine everything because it was easier for the community to just put everything into one tote. We automated our trucks at that time and trained our staff to shift to single stream. But now the commodities market has changed a lot. And so certain materials on a daily basis, it fluctuates the value. So it might be that cardboard is really valuable one day and plastics are really valuable, or glass has no value whatsoever. And so by doing what we are doing starting next week, by switching to dual stream, we will be able to make sure that the product that we are producing is going to be of a higher value for resale. It is also not our choice currently to be staying with single stream as long as we continue to go to Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency. We have been mandated by Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency that by April 1st, and this is after 2 extensions that our mayor has negotiated, by April 1st, they will stop collecting single stream. So if you put out your recycling this week, which you should have, this was your last week of single stream. This was your last day of single stream if you were Thursday pickup. So we are going to be continuing to send our recyclables here to Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency. And in order to do so, since they have a MRF, the Materials Resource Recovery Facility, we have to do dual stream. Can you switch to the next slide, please? Okay, so in your mail, you have received this flyer, and you can pick one up as well today. What's going to happen, starting this coming Monday, we have contracted with a vendor called Cascade, which is the same vendor that has provided all the totes up until now. And every person every business and residence that receives municipal collection is going to receive another tote. The tote is going to look like this. It is going to have a yellow lid on it. It will be a little bit different from this because it will have labels on the top of it, and it's not going to have a Julie labeled front on it. It's going to say on this yellow tote, it's going to say paper and cardboard only. And on the top, hot stamped into the lid, will be a picture, which I'll show you in a second, of exactly what can and cannot go into that tote. Everything that you see here in this paper area can go in. And what you don't see here, if you see things over here that are paper-ish related, that means it cannot. Simple things that many of us have thought can go in are trash, including things like orange juice and milk containers, because they are wax coated on the outside, which is really plastic these days. I don't use wax so much anymore, but it is made of multiple types of materials. Frozen food boxes from your freezer, also wax coated. Those are trash as well. Let's see what other paper things we have over here. Paper towels, trash. Tissues, trash. Paper plates, trash. Nacho tray things, trash. That's paper related. Everything else that is paper, which means all of your newspaper, your magazines, your loose paper, schoolwork, envelopes, bags from Dunkin' or wherever you go get your bagel from if it's clean, your cereal box, your tissue box, egg cartons if they are made of paper, wrapping paper as long as it's not foil lined or really glossy, cardboard boxes, books as long as they are soft cover, toilet paper rolls, all of that goes into your yellow tote. I will note, just make a note about books. If you are going to be recycling books like this fantastic dictionary that I've had since I was 18 years old. My mom probably gave it to me. If you are recycling books, you have to rip off the cover if you're recycling hardcover books. The inside paper, the bulk of this can be recycled in paper. The cover has to go in the trash if you happen to be throwing away a book, or try donating it to the library. So you're going to be getting one of these totes. We ordered 6,131 of them, and the bulk of everyone is going to be getting a 96 gallon, which is the size that you see here. There are very, very few that we have of a smaller size, and so everyone will be getting a 96 gallon. Almost everyone, less than 1,000 people will be getting anything of a different size. Starting, and I'll talk to you about the calendar in just a second. Your existing tote is now going to be only glass, cans, and plastic. You currently have a black lid on here, unless you're one of 500 people that happen to have a blue lid. Starting April 12th, our DPW is going to be going around and physically taking off your existing lid of your existing blue tote. They will be coming to your house. They will be taking off that lid, and they will be putting on a new blue lid, which will be hot stamped on the top with glass, metal, and plastic only, and a full description and pictures, bilingual, of what can and cannot go into the glass, plastic, and metal tote. You'll see over here a variety of things. Generally, again, nothing is really changing from what we currently recycle. It's just how we are dividing it up. So you'll see plastic. So just a few notes. If you have plastic bottles, the lid should remain on. If you have glass containers, the lid should come off. If it is metal, the metal lid goes in as well. If you have foil containers, as long as they are clean, they can go in. If you have aluminum foil, as long as it is clean, it can go in. Note, everything needs to be clean. What else is over here? Tuna fish, soup containers, all these different things, yogurt, those things need to be clean. I will note that there are a number of plastics that hit our major contamination levels. We have incredible contamination, unfortunately, from a very few number of items. Number one, not plastics, but it's pizza boxes. Pizza boxes go in the trash. Although they are made of paper, they go in the trash. They are made of a couple different types of, some of them are waxy. They also tend to have food waste on the inside of them. They need to go in the trash. As far as plastic is concerned, this is a thing that's totally blowing my mind, but clamshells are trash. These are called clamshells. Whether it's this kind of clamshell, or the kind that you get your salad in, or the kind that you get your blueberries in, this is trash. This is the case now, and I know, I feel the same way you feel. I feel the exact same way. This is trash clamshells. So this is the case, and can you go to the next slide? I'll tell you why this is the case. Okay, so at Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency, this is the tipping floor. And so what happens is our haulers go around, our guys go around, and women go around. They pull up to your tote, the automated truck tips it into the back of the truck. They'll take that and they bring it to the tipping floor and they dump it at Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency. At that point, a bulldozer pushes it up onto a conveyor belt, which you do not see here, and pushes it up onto the top of this moving platform. And in that location, there are, 6 or a dozen people, staff, employees, standing there. And they each have a job for what to separate. So you'll notice here each of these containment sections, and if you look closely, you'll see that each of them is a separate individual material of recyclables. So literally they're standing there, and all of the waste, all the recyclables, are coming up along a conveyor belt. And so the first person stands there, and it's very, very loud, and they're standing up above on the second floor, and they're picking out number 1 recyclables. So on the bottom of plastic bottles and containers, there's a triangle, a standard recyclable triangle that we think of. And on the bottom of number 1, which is clear plastic generally, it says PET, polyethylene. And so they're sitting there and they're literally picking off of this conveyor belt and throwing into this mega container here all the number 1s. The next person does the number 2s. The next person does the number 3s, and so on. So each type of plastic is a different type. Number 5, polypropylene. This is your tubs. We have all different types of plastic, and they all have a specific way that they are melted down and then made into new products. Unfortunately, because of the way that we purchase our products and use them, there are things that cannot be melted down in the same way. So you'll notice over here, things like black plastic. If you go to a location where you get leftovers and you get black plastic, it's likely because you're going to then put this in the microwave and reheat it. That's the intention. When this gets to the market, it can't be, or the manufacturing facility, it can't be melted down in the same way as other plastics can, because it's meant to withstand the heat of a microwave, so it doesn't melt down, so it can't be recycled. So we have to throw away those. Also, these clamshells, unfortunately, are, depending on what type they are, even if it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 7, we still have to throw them out. At this point, that is a function of Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency not having a proper sorting machine that they need in order to separate those. But for now, we have to dispose of the clamshells. The other thing is styrofoam. This is number 6 plastic, and there it is. 6 is polystyrene. When you blow air into polystyrene, you get styrofoam. In the last year or so, the county passed a regulation that styrofoam is no longer permitted for restaurants and takeout facilities. However, polystyrene clamshells are. I will say it's not a better option because these are not recyclable either at this time. So when I speak with restaurants, I encourage them to use foil or compostable containers. And if you have a choice, bring your own container for leftovers, and then you won't have to worry about it. But foil containers can be recycled, and the lid from those can also be recycled, so they are clean. After all of the materials are collected, they then compact those into a cube. They trade on the commodities market every day, and they ship those off to be melted down and reused. Next slide. This is what the lid hot stamp things are going to look like on top of your lids. So again, in this section, it's going to say glass, or in this one, paper or cardboard only. This label will be on this section. But frankly, if you're walking all the way out to your tote and you haven't figured it out yet, you shouldn't be making that decision in your kitchen. This is why we produce this fridge flyer. Today, in mail, you've gotten, if you didn't, maybe you'll get it tomorrow. You're going to get 2 things. First of all, you're going to get this, which is your fridge flyer. Put this on the fridge. It's double-sided. It's bilingual on the back. It's Spanish on the back. And this is basically telling you yes, yes, and no. Yep. Paper and cardboard, commingled, no. We're also sending you home a calendar and a letter that explains everything that I'm saying. Not as eloquently, but it is, you'll still get a letter. And anyway, this is going to be on the top of your tote, so you can check that out if you have questions. This is the calendar. So as of now, right now, if you get municipal pickup, you get trash picked up every week, and you get your recyclables picked up bi-weekly. Starting on April 1st, you will be getting a type of recyclable picked up each week. You will continue to put out your trash every week in your brown tote. This calendar also should go on the fridge. It's going to tell you on blue weeks, you put out blue tote only. On yellow weeks, you put out the yellow tote only. It's pretty simple. We're just alternating every other week. So you'll continue to collect your recyclables and store them wherever you store them near your home. And when it is time for your pickup day, so you're a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday run, you will put out your appropriate tote. Caveat to that is that if you are a business and you are getting Tuesday pickup, you are not getting totes because you don't currently have totes. So if you are a Tuesday run, you're likely somewhere along Broadway or uptown on North Front Street or Wall Street or somewhere uptown. And because of spacing restrictions, we don't currently provide totes to those locations. They will not be getting totes as part of this process either. They will still be mandated to separate into the 2 different types. So alternate week recycling, everyone will be putting out blue on the blue weeks, and everyone will be putting out yellow on the yellow weeks. Trash every single week. If there happens to be a holiday, everything gets shifted over one day, as it does now, and your trash will get picked up the following day, as it does now. The other thing that is changing here is that yard waste is now only going to get picked up on Fridays. In order for us to be able to run all of these runs with a limited number of hauling trucks and packers that we have, we had to modify how we collect our yard waste. And that means that, and this will take a little bit of memory here, it's going to be on your calendar when you get it, but if you are a Monday or Tuesday collection, if that's when you normally put out your recyclables and your trash, you will be putting out your yard waste on the blue week. If you're a Wednesday, Thursday collection, you'll be putting out your yard waste on the yellow week, and metal is being collected once a month where you see that that red circle. Next slide, please. I just wanted to point out our demographics certainly are changing here in the city of Kingston, and more people are requesting and certainly deserving of all of our materials in the language that is hopefully the most familiar to them. So we have made the effort to produce all of our materials on this round in Spanish as well. So we sent 12,363 of each of these flyers bilingual, and you'll be getting those in the mail hopefully today. Next slide, please. Common non-recyclable items. I know this is where our minds get blown. And everyone here I know can look on this table and say, oh my gosh, I definitely put that in my recycling, and you shouldn't. And this is just a learning experience for us. We're not going to sit here and say that we're experts. I call Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency a couple times a day. Today I had to ask them about the books. Tomorrow it'll be something else. But just going through this, plastic fruit containers for berries and salad, pizza boxes, one of our #1 offenders. Plastic bags and plastic film. Plastic bags cannot go into our recycling. However, you can take plastic bags and film and bring them back. I'm sorry that I'm wandering around. That's probably going to be making it really difficult for you. I'm trying to be Vanna. So plastic bags get brought back to the store. Any store that you purchase a plastic bag from, you can bring the plastic bags back. And that includes things like film. And it includes things like plastic bags if you rip the top off. It includes things like your bread container and the bag that your newspaper comes in, and all different types of film. The bag from your crackers, the bag from your cereal. All of those things can go into a plastic bag. This is how I hang it at my house, just so it dries out. Then we transfer it into a plastic bag, and we bring it back to the grocery store when we go back. You could do it at Rite Aid or any store like that. But plastic bags are on our top offense list with pizza boxes. Please don't put those in there. Kitty litter containers, styrofoam, I talked about that. Food, I will mention. We cannot collect food. If you want to compost, I will talk to you ad nauseum about how fantastic composting is, and maybe in the next few years we will think about how we can do that citywide. Right now we're not implementing composting, but by collecting compost, you can help us divert up to 25% of our waste from the waste stream. And so food should not go in any of these totes. Next slide, please. Your alternative to putting things out, or an additional option, is to go to our transfer station. So our transfer station is located off the boulevard at 69 Albert Street, and it's open on Fridays from 9 to 1 and on Saturdays from 8 to 3. We have a number of things that we can accept there for free, and then we have some things that are for a fee. So accepted free, recycling is accepted for free, yard waste, leaves, brush, scrap metal, and e-waste. So if you have an old computer or a mega TV that you're getting rid of, or a kitchen appliance or other things that you're trying to get rid of, we accept e-waste for free. No fee to get rid of that. You can bring those right in. And for a fee, you can dispose of additional trash, tires, appliances, and furniture. And I think the next slide it's a terrible one, but has a fee schedule on it. You're not going to be able to read it, but just to prove to you that there are certain fees. Some things are by weight, so trash is 15 cents a pound. Furniture and other things might be $15 or $25, depending on if it's an appliance. And so our fee schedule is available, and you can check out that on our website. In addition to the things that were mentioned today, there are also things that just shouldn't be thrown away or recycled, and those are considered household hazardous waste. As a municipality, we don't personally host household hazardous waste days. However, Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency does, and in 2019 they have 3 of them. The next one is coming up on April 13th. This flyer explains to you how that process works, but I'll also explain it to you. You have to make a reservation. You have to register to go, and you can bring anything that's corrosive, toxic, reactive, or flammable. prescription bottles, pharmaceuticals, those things get dropped off there. I will say be prepared to be in a line for a little while. You will wait in a line to dispose of your things. You drive up with your box full of whatever, your stuff that your household hazardous waste. You get up to the door, and people in big hazmat suits come and they take it out of your trunk, and then they incinerate most of the stuff while they're on site there. And that happens 3 times a year. It is free, but you have to register. And that's for household hazardous waste. One of the things we did bring here today is fluorescent bulbs, which I'm not going to lift up because I don't want to break them, but we have bulbs over here that would be considered household hazardous waste. Things like paint, things like car batteries, different types of fuels, those are all household hazardous waste. There are many ways that you can find out more information besides what I'm saying right now. If you go to our website, we will constantly be updating that. We set up a website dedicated just to recycling, kingston-ny.gov/recycle. Dispatch can answer any question that you have whatsoever, 338-2114. This week we launched the Kingston 311 app, and so you can submit any issues that you have there. And we have an email, recycling@kingston-ny.gov. Actually, we can probably leave it on that one. That might be the last slide. That's the last one. So, do you want to? We don't have a mic. So, does anyone have questions? We can field any questions that you may have. Yes.
Can you go over the scheduling when the transition is actually going to be happening?
Yes, absolutely. So this coming Monday, as I mentioned, we're working with Cascade. At 7 a.m. Monday, they're going to come and to our transfer station. They're delivering 3 tractor-trailer loads worth of totes. Now, mind you, we ordered 6,131 totes, and they're only distributing 681 a day. It's going to take 10 days for them to distribute the totes. So they will be constructing the totes on site, which means they're coming in several pieces. They have to add the axles, the wheels, the lids. They will be doing that on site at the transfer station, putting them in the back of a 20-some-foot box truck and driving them down the roads of Kingston and distributing the totes. At that time, they're also going to be writing down this secret number underneath, which is not secret, I just covered it. They'll be writing down the number just in case your tote goes flying down the road or you bring it to Hannaford to empty your bottles out or something, which I do not recommend doing. And then we know whose tote belongs to who. So starting this coming Monday, which is not normally a recyclable week, we did this intentionally. This week was recycling, this coming Monday is not. You will be starting to see your new tote arrive, and starting the following week, if you'll go to the calendar, which is like slide 4, 5, 6, one more, yeah. So starting the week of April 1st, which is 1 week after next week, assuming you have your tote by then, you're going to only put out blue. We also did this intentionally because everyone currently has blue. So starting the week of April 1st, you will only be putting out bottles, cans, and plastic. Even if you don't have your yellow tote yet, you're still just putting out the blue. Starting April 1st. Steve?
Residents going to be getting this packet?
Yes, every resident and every property owner. So we only have, we have 23,000 people. We only have 8,000 individual units, but we sent out 12,363, so every property owner, whether they live in New York or here or wherever, is getting one. So everyone is getting that 2-sided fridge flyer, and everyone is getting a 4-sided paper, which is a letter and a calendar in English and a letter and a calendar in Spanish. Also, this is on the website, and the fridge flyer is on the website, and we are going to be as you might imagine, this is going to be a challenging process for DPW to transition, considering some people will have them and some people will not. It's going to be quite an educational experience, considering 23,000 people aren't sitting here right now to hear what I'm saying. But we are going to be posting this on the website. But I will say that although we have a very strict policy right now for not accepting contamination, we will be a little bit lenient for sure in the first month or so to make sure that everyone understands the transition. And if someone happens to violate, to mess up or do something different, we will be leaving another flyer like this as well. I do want to just explain to you why contamination is a big deal. We all try to do, wish cycling, right? Like, I really want these to be recycled, so I'm going to put them in. Or I really want these to be recycled, and I think that these should be, so I put them in. But then, what happens is when we get to Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency, they reject our load. Okay, so they see pizza boxes in there. or they see clamshells, or they see, you know, Julie's almond milk thing, and they reject the load. And that means that even the well-intentioned recyclers who put the rest of the good recycling in there, the entire load is getting rejected because of the contaminants that are in there. And as a reference, just to give you an idea of the economics of this, right now we're paying $103 a ton to get rid of our trash, $115 a ton to get rid of our recyclables. Starting April 1st, we will be paying $0 a ton to get rid of our recyclables because we're going with dual stream. However, every time that contaminated load gets switched over to trash, we then have to pay the trash fee. And our trash gets sent 250 miles from here to Seneca Meadows landfill, which is past Syracuse and is filling up very fast. So we want to do what we can to divert. Jeff?
For switching the lids on the blue totes, for people that don't necessarily fill their recycling every time,
Yep.
will we get notice to put them out?
Okay, so you do not have to put out your recyclables every single week. It is like if you don't get the paper, don't use a lot of cardboard, and it's going to take you several weeks to fill up your paper tote, you don't have to put it out. I don't put out my trash every week. I don't put out my recyclables every week. We do encourage, I shouldn't have said that, you should put out your trash every single week, because otherwise it's sitting there and it could cause a nuisance. However, if putting out recyclables every week doesn't seem comfortable to you and you want to wait a couple weeks to put it out, that's okay too.
Yeah, but my question was, when you're switching the lid on the blue one,
Yep.
will we note so that we put it out that week so that they can switch it?
I would say for the first couple of weeks, put everything out, whether it's half full, quarter full, whatever, so we can make that transition.
Okay, yeah, that was a good question.
I also think part of the question is, do we need to roll out the tote, the one with the black lid currently? Do we need to roll it out to the street so DPW can remove
Yes.
it?
Well, that's what Ed is saying. He's saying,
Yeah.
put them out,
Put them out.
put them out this coming week.
During the recycle, so
Yes.
have it, when you're supposed to put it out, wheel it out.
Until your lid gets switched, otherwise, you know, we don't want DPW, it's gonna take 5 times as long if they have to go look in your backyard for a tote, which is not gonna happen.
That's April 12th.
Starting April, that's what I've been told.
Yes.
The lids are not coming to April 12th, and as you can imagine, for Cascade, who's being hired to do this full time with two teams of people, it's gonna take them 10 days to just do the totes. For our DPW, who have their regular jobs to do every day, it's going to take a while to transition out the lids. But just because you don't have the lid doesn't mean you're not understanding what's going on. You're still putting your plastics, metal, and glass in there, whether you have the lid or not.
Can you just tell me that dollar figure, $103 per ton
The
for
trash,
what?
the garbage, trash,
Garbage.
brown tote is $103 a ton currently. The recycling is $115. After April 1st, it goes up to $140 a ton. So we want to make this transition very quickly.
40?
Yes.
What's the total then per year that we spend for recycles at $115 a ton?
We haven't been the full year yet. Because it's been going up continuously. We started in the fall at, what was it, $77 a ton, roughly. So since then, it's been going up continually, up to the 115 mark.
But is there any way to gauge
What was
we
our
think,
last
you know,
year's
yearly?
recycling?
7,000.
7,000 tons. So 7,000 tons of recycling last year.
Thanks.
Bill?
Yeah, Joe, for the stuff that's going to our transfer station, that's Kingston residents only, right? And they need proof of residency?
To our transfer station, you
Yeah.
need to provide proof or like a bill or something. You could be a resident or a
Because it is
business.
just only Kingston residents?
Yes, yep,
Okay.
yep.
Hey, could you show that slide one more time for the transfer station where what's free?
Yep. So free is recycling, yard waste, leaves, brush, scrap metal, and all e-waste. E-waste is also free at Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency for the record.
So computers, e-waste, what?
So e-waste is your computer. It's your monitor. It's your TV. It's your laptop. It's your small appliances, wires and cords.
Printers?
What's that? Yes, printers. Yep.
So that's all.
That's all e-waste. Yep, that's free. Sarah.
Along with
like square containers, like soy milk comes in, or juice boxes, are those also not?
Juice boxes are trash, anything.
Oh, yeah.
So these Tetra Packs, these are all trash because they're wax, which really is plastic coated. So juice boxes, I know, it's terrible. It's so terrible. Don't say that on the record. Rich?
I'm still struggling with the logic of why we need a whole separate bin. Why we would just transition and not personally if it's not just one bin. Why we just can't alternate the bin we have every 2 weeks put out cans and bottles and next 2 weeks put out paper based on the schedule. And why another bin is going to be sitting in front of people's houses and on the curbside. I'm really struggling, so if you can help me understand. I know it's already done deal, it's not about recycling, but we're really struggling with a lot.
Yeah, so at this point, what we have decided is that it is the most streamlined and it is the most effective for people to have a second bin to be able to store their paper for the 2 weeks. It's going to be 2 weeks basically that you are storing your cardboard and your paper and everything else. What we're already seeing now is that we see overflowing recycle containers with cardboard boxes and other things that take up a whole ton of space. And so we made the decision consciously to go with a second additional bin so that people wouldn't have to use another container inside their home. Whether you're using another container temporarily to hold it until you can put it in your bin, or you're using our container, we figured we might as well provide that service to the community. I don't know if anyone wants to add more to that.
Then also, go ahead.
It also has to do with contamination. So the commingled containers, people wash them out, don't wash them out. The bins get kind of grungy inside. And once the paper is contaminated, the paper is also, paper and cardboard is not recyclable anymore. We found that with dual stream. The majority of the paper products get rejected. We think we're doing the right thing, but they're no longer recyclable once they're contaminated. It also has to be kept dry. I understand about the 2 bins and the spatial issues with it, but even with the best of intentions, if you store your cardboard or newspaper or magazines and they get wet and you put them in the tote, again, they're going to be rejected. So the bin will give you a watertight option for keeping everything clean, separated, dry. It may take you 2 months to fill it up, but at least it's there for you so that you don't have to store it yourself in hopes that it doesn't end up with mice or chipmunks or squirrels or roaches or whatever it may be mixed in with it. It'll keep everything contained and separate.
I can understand that. I mean, as a resident, it's our business is overflowing. When I put out a recycling can right now with coating with the bingo, probably once a month. With that paper that I recycle, that I produce, I don't need a big bin like that, and I would prefer to keep it in a bag in my house and bring it to the transfer station once a month than to have to turn one of those in my yard. So it would be nice if maybe residents had the option of doing that. I don't really need it. And I don't need those. So, personally, and I feel like this is not
There's, we're going to be going through this transition. There's going to be a lot of decisions that need to be made in the first couple of months. So, we set up this schedule that you see. It could be the case that we need to modify that schedule. It certainly could be the case with businesses and other things. We're going to be evaluating as the project unfolds. This is something that we aren't necessarily super enthusiastic about as well. And so we are going to just see what works the best for everyone. And at least for now, we're going to roll out with this schedule. If we have to modify the schedule and maybe pick up less frequently or whatever it is, we may do so. But recycling is mandatory, and in order for us to execute the mandatory recycling, we need to provide the totes. Tony?
So you were saying, just to follow up on him, if it gets wet, the newspaper gets wet, then that whole truckload, right, as we're saying, gets refused.
That is a possibility. They have a 12% threshold of what they want. Anything more than that is deemed not valuable. They can't resell it. So that was the other reason for the lid, the new separate container, to keep it clean, keep it dry, keep it so that people actually want it.
Steve?
Yeah. Actually, I just want to address Rich. I can tell you why I voted for this measure. Everybody else can kind of speak for themselves, but Probably the main reason I thought, I mean, these are all very good reasons, but I felt the majority of residents would go out and purchase another bin. I know that's what I was, when this came out, I'm like, well, I'm gonna buy a third bin myself, so I don't have to switch them every week. And I thought we'd be passing that cost on to the taxpayers. And I didn't think that was a fair thing to do, so I voted,
Yeah, but
I voted for
when I
this.
just moved here, I get from a community that I've been sorting. I mean, I go back to where I used to have to sort separate color glass, brown and clear and green glass. But, it's, I just moved here from a community where I kept my paper, this was new to me. It took me the couple months that I've lived here to actually get to the point where it was okay putting them together because of the contamination issue.
Yeah.
But, to me, as a resident, as a recycler, I don't see an issue with sorting and bins and storing and, being responsible for your own garbage, but,
I don't have scientific fact to back that up, but I would think that you're gonna be in the minority there. I mean, I think
I think
a
just
lot
by
of
the
people are gonna
turnout.
buy a separate bin, just so they don't have to switch bins around, and it's gonna get confusing, and,
Yeah, I
things are
understand.
gonna happen, so I didn't wanna pass that cost along to the taxpayers.
I had a couple of related things, and then another question regarding the having too few or too. There's also an issue with apartment buildings; they don't often get enough bins. I know that's very often with the trash, especially. And it'll be less likely now that they'll be able to have double the bins for the apartment buildings. But I live on the house on Ward Street. That's my single-family home. And then I have behind it a two-family home on Adams, which is a really narrow street with two buildings that have 4 apartments in them. And I've made an arrangement with my neighbor because we've got 3 units in my 2 properties. And we have a hard time filling up our bins as it is with the 3 families. But so now that we'll have another recycling bin, we're gonna have 4 recycling bins when we barely need 2. So I'm lending across the street from me, long-term lending. I'm gonna write down my number so we know which one was mine. And I'm lending one of each to the 4 apartment building because they don't have enough and I have way too much. So that's an idea that maybe people can work with their neighbors. If you have maybe 2 families together could share it. Anyway,
And I want to speak to that for a second. So I will just note again, we placed the order through Cascade based on what is currently out in the community. It could be the case that multifamilies, which currently have multiple blue totes, will now not need as many of those, and they're going to be getting the yellow. So once we roll everything out, we will field those sort of questions. I have an extra one, multiple, and I don't need as many now, so that we're diverting it or whatever. So those sort of questions we're going to certainly field once everything is rolled out, and at that time we'll also understand how many totes we have left and how to allocate those. Did you have more? Yep.
The Socrates is not very far away to Socrates recycling, and for $15 a year, you can bring endless buckets and drop them off of composting.
Yeah.
Socrates. It's just
To the transfer station, yeah.
Yeah. I have a question. So Newport is incinerating hazardous waste? What is that? Yes. How do they make sure they don't pollute?
They hire somebody, special contractor facilities and places to do it. Like that's operates. It's how they hire.
Yeah. Did you have another question?
Yeah. I hope that we someday figure out a way to have some local recycling, like a glass blowing school that would take the glass, or a paper making facility that would recycle our paper. It would be great if I don't know if it would have to be, but maybe that would be a great pilot thing.
Certainly the key to this whole loop is to make sure that we encourage people to buy recycled products, because otherwise there is not a market for what we are producing. So certainly to try to close that loop. Ready?
What's the total cost of the bins? The new totes?
300.
Yeah, about 400,000. Plus
And
the,
then-
plus the lids are $85,000, $10,488.27 I spent on on sending these flyers out.
But then didn't we get grants and things to pay for some or all of this?
Yes. So the totes and the lids are where you're getting 50 cents on the dollar refund from the state.
Uh-huh.
My time is 50% funded by the state. All the mailings are 50% funded by the state. 50%, getting 50% back.
Okay.
How much you say that was total? 45,000
For what?
for the totes, you said?
400,000 plus.
400,000.
Yep,
All
plus
right.
85,000 for the lids. Yes.
What ability do we have to lobby the people that take all those, that won't take the clamshells to take the clamshells? Because that's a big issue.
Yep, it is a big issue, and it is a priority of this current administration to lobby for clamshells.
Is that a Kingston thing only, or Ulster County thing only? If I go to another county, will they take my clamshells?
Likely. So many things that you see, many of the nuances of what you see here change depending on the facility that you're doing, that you're bringing it to. It happens to be the case that where we bring our recyclables, they don't accept clamshells. And if I can find a way for us to collectively lobby to make that change, I think that we should do that. Karen?
The containers with cakes, you know, plastic.
Yep. Yep.
The cupcakes, the cakes, they're not.
The plastic top part is, the clear part, the black base is not.
Okay. And no clamshells, no things that are attached, like the salad, the holes of the salad.
But even if the salad even it doesn't even have to be like, even if you just take the lid off and rip it off, it's still not. I asked that question today. So if I do this, and it's now not a clamshell, they still don't take it. Any other questions? Yes.
I want to revisit enforcement for a second.
Sure.
So you said that there's going to be some leniency at first?
Yes.
If people haven't quite figured out which recycling goes where and what is recyclable?
Yes.
When that ends, are you just not going to accept the recycling?
Great question.
You're going to put down, sorry, this is a little bit clarification.
Yep, that's a great question. So,
You're going to put down the information sheet. Are you going to do any sort of like post-it note, pre-made, like
yes.
this is the problem?
Yep.
Put a hose in.
Yes. So what's going to happen after sort of the leniency period is that DPW is going to have these, and there's going to be a sticker on it that says, you know, we transitioned to dual stream. Please review this form because you put contamination in there, and they will then stick this in your tote, and they will leave your tote. And this is explained in the letter that you'll get today or tomorrow or whenever you get it. But they will leave your tote, and then you will have to put out your tote the following cycle. You can also certainly, if you have a specific question and you don't understand or you're not clear about what you did wrong, you can absolutely call dispatch, and dispatch will walk you through. Yes?
Yeah, what about the fines at the same stream?
Yep.
People who contaminate many.
Yep. That will continue.
That fine was $80?
What's the violation fee? 85? 85. That will continue after the leniency period.
So they will be able to call DPW though, if they get this flyer in there, and DPW, when someone rejects the tote, is that written down? Or is that recorded so then somebody calls
The drivers
DPW?
get to pick up your totes. If they open this up and say, oh, there's a pizza box in here. They then call dispatch. Dispatch writes down what the problem, the address, what the problem is, so that if somebody calls you later to say, hey, you didn't pick up my garbage today, we can go back and say, well, it wasn't picked up because pizza boxes, light bulbs, anything that doesn't belong in there. And just to get back to the pizza box thing, this is the culprit. So that little bit of grease is going to contaminate the entire load. If this falls out of the back of the truck at Resource Recovery Agency, hits the ground, somebody sees that. If you have 5 tons of garbage in that truck, it's $105 a ton for the entire load. That's what we're up against. So that's why we're, please, take the extra time, think about what you're doing, make the effort.
And I will say that the actual materials that are recyclable and are not changing based on this transition to dual stream. It is the case with single stream and dual stream that pizza boxes are not permitted. It is the case with single stream and dual stream that clamshells are not permitted. It is the case with single stream and dual stream that plastic bags are not permitted. These rules are not changing. I'm just telling you all so that you have the best information available. The only thing that's changing is that you're now putting this stuff in here and that stuff in there. Any other questions? Thank you all for coming. We could certainly answer any questions offline if you have any.
Just a little side note, we have a little catchphrase that was developed by our dispatcher. When in doubt, throw it out.
When in doubt, throw it out.
When in doubt, throw it out. If there's any concern, if something is clean enough, whatever, if you don't know, put it in the brown one. Let's get through the first month, because that's really gonna, until everybody gets accustomed to what's happening. I'd rather pay the lower rate to throw it out as trash than the higher rate. So, and ultimately, in the end, this is gonna change over. If we get it clean enough, we can then, start saving money across the board. But it takes everybody here in the whole city to help.